How's everybody doing tonight? This is Chopping It Up Hardcore with Hal Capone, discussion number 54. Tonight I'm speaking with an icon of the thrash hardcore punk scene. I'm talking to Kurt Brecht from the iconic band Dirty Rotten Imbeciles, aka DRI. He also sings in a band called Pasadena, Napalm Division. I can't wait to talk to him. Super stoked. Hope everybody's doing good. I'm going to grab you right now, Kurt. Kurt, how you doing?
Hey, great.
You hear me all right?
Yep.
Perfect. I just want to thank you so much for doing it, taking time out on a Sunday. I know Sundays are family time for people, and it's time to take some time off. But I super appreciate you taking time out and talking to me.
Yeah, I was going to do it outside, but it started raining very hard, and it's real loud out there now.
Yeah, it's been raining up in New England like crazy for the past 2 weeks. We hadn't had any rain for the last 2 years all summer long, and then this summer it's just been nonstop rain. So it's kind of different this summer, that's for sure. So usually, what I do is when I talk to my guests, the first question I ask is, what got you into punk and hardcore? What were the first things that kind of drew you in, and what were you listening to before punk and hardcore like really grabbed you?
Before punk and hardcore, before I'd ever heard of that, I was listening to hard rock. And, Black Sabbath, Ted Nugent, Van Halen, stuff like that. Kiss, of course.
Yeah. Now, were you going to shows when you listened to those bands?
Oh, yeah, I was going to all the concerts
And
in high school.
What was your first that you went to, like, in that hard rock, heavy metal, like, genre? What was the first?
The first one?
Yeah.
UFO.
UFO, nice. Yeah, I'm kind of like similar to you. I started listening to like heavy metal first off, and then that kind of turned into thrash metal, and then thrash metal turned into like punk and hardcore, and then I was like full fledged hardcore, like
Right.
So.
Yeah, once I heard about hardcore, went to my first show, then it was just so much more fun to just be close to the band and be able to meet them and jump up on stage and all that, thrashing around. And it was just more intimate, more exciting for me.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. You could touch the band, you could get on stage, jump off, do a stage dive. You know what I mean? I started young. At my first show, first hardcore show was in 1983. I saw SSD and DYS and Angry Samoan at the
That's been great.
I was only 11 years old. When I went, I was scared shitless because I had long hair, and a lot of those guys had short hair. And I saw like some longer haired kids kind of getting beat on a little bit. So I was scared shitless, you know what I mean, to say the least. And so I kind of stopped going because I was afraid I was going to get beat up. I was young. I was 11. So, and then I kind of, shaved my head and started getting into hardcore like at 87, 88, right around that time.
Right.
I heard a podcast where you were talking about, when punk and hardcore back then, a lot of long-haired kids would get picked. Was it the same thing in California back in the 80s? Because I remember, I'd go into the pit as a little kid and they'd be like, get that kid with the long hair. And I was little, so I would like, hit him and the long hair, all the like, skinheads would turn around and be like, you touch him. And the kind of the same way in the West Coast like that back then.
Well, I mean, we toured all over the place. So the West Coast wasn't always the worst problem. I mean, it was bad all over, but I remember the South was pretty bad and the East Coast and stuff. It was just that time when all the metalheads started coming in to see us, and the punks, were already there kind of. It was like, and they just weren't getting along too well.
Yeah.
I think mostly the skinheads and stuff were attacking the long hairs because the long hairs were the new people. But little by little, everybody just got used to each other. It took a while.
Yeah.
A lot of people got hurt. A lot of broken jaws and missing teeth, I'm sure.
Yeah. Now, what were the first that kind of drew you into the punk and hardcore scene? What grabbed you where you were like, oh, I want to play this style of music?
Oh, I guess the lyrics kind of matched with the poems that I had been writing. I think that was a part of it, you know. And then I thought, well, I could get up there, and looked like a lot of them really didn't know how to sing, and I didn't either. So I'm like, if I could just probably get up there and shout my lyrics that I had or my poems or whatever, I might be able to get away with it.
Yeah. And what were the bands that kind of drew you in though to that scene?
Well, at that time there was a lot. It was a summer, like the first summer that I got into hardcore. Everybody was coming through. You know, I got to see the Misfits. Came through. That played the same club. They all played the same club, the Island. Got to see Black Flag. Um, who else came through there? Misfits, Black Flag, TSOL, Suburban Lawns. It just went on and on. And then some of the bigger bands played at larger places like Dead Kennedys, that sort of thing. Might be at a different venue, but yeah, I got to see all those bands. It was great.
And
And
that
then our band, of course, once we started, it got to start opening for the bands coming through. But local bands were like Verbal Abuse, Jerry Falwell and the Vibrating Crosses, and a bunch of other bands that I can't really remember right this second. But yeah, it was fun. We played local shows. We'd play opening for headliners until we left, went to San Francisco.
that was all right. Were you born and raised in Houston, Texas?
We started here, yeah.
Yeah. Now, what drew you to leave Houston and go to California? Just because the scene was more vibrant there at the time, just more shows, more bands there?
Right. We had been told by people that had been there that it was better and that it would probably be good for us. Tim Yohannan, remember him? He ran Maximum Rock and Roll magazine.
Yep.
Yeah, he called us. That was really weird because it was like our Bible or whatever. That's how, back before the internet, that's how you learned about the scenes all over the world and how the bands were doing and all that stuff, you know. And it's just a regular old printed magazine, but we wanted to get that every month and check it out, see what's going on. So we knew who Tim Yohannan was and looked up to him and everything, you know. And all of a sudden my mother came and knocked on our door and she's like, some guy's on the phone for you. And I, went up there and it was Tim Yohannan calling, and he had gotten our cassette tape from Nikki Sicky from Verbal Abuse. And he really liked it. He wanted us to come. He said, you guys need to come out here to San Francisco and play some shows. So when he says you should do it, we took it pretty serious.
Yeah, definitely. Now, how was the transition moving? Was it rough in the beginning, kind of trying to find a place to, stay and practice, stuff like that? I know that you wrote a book, basically about sleeping in a tree. Was that kind of like the beginnings of you guys in California, kind of like roughing it and trying to figure out your own stuff back then?
Correct. Yeah, we knew what we were getting into when we went there. Verbal Abuse had already told us about it, and MDC also kind of explained the situation, We'd be sleeping in our van or in squats and things like that, eating at soup kitchens and basically just surviving between tours if we could get it on a tour, which we did after a while. But when you came back from a tour, it was right back to the same thing because you weren't coming back with any money like to get an apartment or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. No,
right back out on the street. But like I said, we knew what we were getting into.
I also had to ask about the tree. How was your sleep pattern in a tree?
I slept very well up there, actually. Mentions that in the book, it's like you wake up super refreshed and something like that. Just, I don't know, the energy of the tree or something, the oxygen that it's pumping out, maybe like super oxygenated up in there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe.
Now, you were sleeping up there, were you kind of like in just a lay down position? You had a cool tree where you could actually do that,
Yes, a natural bed of branches that crossed, and I pretty much have to lay on my back. I couldn't be flopping around on my stomach and all that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really worried about falling out because it was sort of a natural cradle.
Yeah.
Kept me from falling out, and all my gear that I had, like shoes and things like that, I just had them hanging around up above me, hanging from the tree, from the limbs above me and stuff. I had a cat up there too. I don't know if you read the book, but I had a cat for a while and stuff.
Oh, no kidding.
It was fun.
Nice. And obviously it was dangerous in that park and sleeping just anywhere, you know. So obviously that makes total sense if you know what I mean. You don't want to be sleeping on the side of the street or a park bench or something like that, because I mean it's
Right.
dangerous.
Well, I'd usually sleep in the van, but I think it broke down or it had some maintenance that needed to be done, and Spike took it to go work on it or whatever. So then I was just kind of stuck out there.
Now, Madman, the song with your dad, obviously he had, you know, some beef with you guys about like the loudness and all that stuff, and the Madman song that he's on the recording of, was he
Mhm.
was he like pleasantly happy when you guys were like, all right, we're moving to California, and he didn't have to hear you guys cry?
Yeah, yeah, he was. They were definitely happy that we left.
And
So
now,
were the neighbors, the neighbor as well.
yeah, what did you have a lot of neighbors in that small, like where you lived in Houston? Was it, were they
Well,
like?
yeah, I mean, yeah, it was like a suburban street or whatever, but the lady next to us never complained. But when the 7-inch came out and I saw her going out to her car, I went to go give her one, and she said, "No, thanks. I already heard all his songs enough." Obviously, did not like it.
Now you recorded that. Was there EP that came out? The first thing, like the self-titled EP, was that recorded in Texas?
Yes.
And then after that, the dealing with it and stuff like that was all California. Like, so,
No, we did that in Texas as well.
oh, you did dealing with it in Texas too.
Right.
Um,
It
so
wasn't
what?
until we got on Metal Blade that we started recording in California.
And that was Crossover was the first Metal Blade release. Is that what it was?
Yes.
Now, what kind of
No,
change?
actually, Violent Pacification we did in California. And
Oh
that,
no,
that, that was on Rotten Records. So,
yeah, I think Violent Pacification was the first song I ever heard from you guys, and then I kind of dove into dealing with it. Like Crossover hadn't come out at that time, so
right.
uh, started listening to Dealing with It, which is like still, you know, pop like listen for me all the time. I love that album so much. It's so like, and then I dove back, you know, to the self-titled EP and stuff like that. I was just blown away because back I loved that fast, like choppy hardcore punk. It was more punk than like so much hardcore, I guess you would say.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah,
I still don't know completely the difference. To me, punk is more, when I think of punk, I think of Oi or the punk uniform that people wear, you know, like from England or whatever, the more of like the punk bondage clothing and stuff like that. That's what I think of as punk. So I just, in my mind, I don't sit there and try to categorize each little thing, whatever. But to me, yeah, the first album sounds like just a grinding noise. You know, it's fucking hilarious. It's just stops and starts. And it was so funny that when we would go to radio stations in the old days and bring them the 7-inch, you know, and they just kind of drop the needle somewhere and let it play for a while and then take it off because everything's packed in there so close that they couldn't even find like or figure out where one song started and the next ended, and it was crazy.
yeah. Now, what kind of made you change your style a little bit? Because obviously the self-titled EP is a little different than Dealing with It. You know what I mean? There's like you know, a tad of metal-ish like guitar playing and stuff like that. What kind of were you like?
Well,
Just
we wanted to break it up, you know, break it up, and it's just getting monotonous playing nothing but fast songs. People are like, you guys are the fastest band in the world, and that's cool and everything, but we could also play some other stuff, and we wanted to branch out and just mix it up a little bit, like Nursing Home Blues, you know, a slower song, and so mix that in between a bunch of fast songs just to give people a break and us a break, I guess, too, maybe. Because at first we probably played like 20-minute set, you know, and then after a while, now we play an hour and a half. So
yeah,
we could probably play an hour and a half of short, fast songs, but you know, I think we better to mix it up a little bit.
yeah, definitely. So the first tour, the Dead Kennedys tour, wasn't your first big tour, was it? Or what tour? What that Dead?
It wasn't a Dead Kennedys tour. The first tour we did was with MDC, really,
Oh, no kidding.
but that was at what's it called, Rock Against Reagan.
Yeah.
But you're right, the Dead Kennedys did headline some of the shows, but they weren't on all of them. They kind of changed around which bands played and stuff.
So it was basically MDC and you guys for the most
Now,
of the.
MDC invited us on it, I believe. I think they invited us on that tour. And so we weren't getting paid. I think we got gas money, and they gave us free food. The yippies, or the people that were putting out, doing the thing, we were playing on like the flatbed of a truck, of a semi-trailer flatbed, from what I remember.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the memories that you had from that tour? Was there some good memories, or was that tour kind of rough just because
It
they all?
was rough, but we didn't know. We knew touring would probably be rough, but we didn't care, and that we just did. Apparently, I sold a 7-inch record to Dave Grohl per his book that he wrote, out of the back of our van there in Washington, D.C.
Oh, no kidding.
So yeah, he said he was really impressed by DRI, Dead Kennedys, and all the bands that played that night. Kind of made him want to go home and start drumming. He was just a kid. I don't remember. I sold records to a lot of people, but just playing. It was interesting because we haven't done a lot of tours like that where you're just playing to people outside who happen to be walking by. So you just kind of set up and play, and nobody's paying to get in or anything. There might be some fans there, but you're also yelling at people that are just, walking by, minding their own business. So it was very interesting for us because before then we just played in clubs, where everybody paid to get in to see us or the bands that we played with. So it was interesting to try to reach out to the uninitiated, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. Now, how far did that tour go? Did you make it to the East Coast on that
Oh
tour?
yeah, it was all East Coast and everything,
Yeah.
DC, all over. I don't remember every single one. We didn't play every single one either, I don't believe, but played quite a few. I remember the Crucifix were playing. They did some shows with us. I can't remember all the other bands that were on that.
Yeah. Now back then, what were the that you liked that you were playing with? Were you blown away by any bands that you kind of didn't know that you played with back then that kind of were still a fan of now? That
Yeah, like Dr. No. We like I said, we learned about all these bands from Maximum Rock and Roll magazine mainly.
yeah,
And then, so you see Dr. No on there or whatever, then you're at somebody's house and they play Dr. No, and then you're like, oh, who's that? And then eventually you're meeting them and playing shows with them and stuff, and it's surreal. Pretty soon they know who you are and everything, and it's just like, wow, I can't believe it. It's just come to this or whatever, where you're playing with the Dead Kennedys and you're doing shows with bands like that, even overseas and stuff, and especially now that they have festivals, you're playing with everybody.
true. Now, speaking of like the old shows back then, did you get to play with like all the all time greats? Like, did you guys end up playing with the Bad Brains and obviously?
Oh yeah, we'd be hanging out, smoking weed with them backstage and stuff. It was crazy. Another one that were just like, I can't believe, like, they remember me from the last time we played with them, and they actually acknowledged me and said, hey, what's up and everything. And it's like, it was incredible.
And what year was that around that you guys ended up playing with Bad Brains? Was that earlier, like in the heyday of them, like when they played CBGBs, like that video way back in the day?
Probably later. I remember playing with them at the farm in California. Might have been 86 or something like that, maybe 87 or something.
Yeah, definitely. And so you've obviously all the greats from California, like Black Flag and Circle Jerks and stuff like that. Was
Yeah, we played with all of those guys, yeah.
there any back then that you didn't get to play with that you wanted to play with?
Yeah, I've never even got to see Bad Religion, but I watched their videos, watched on YouTube and stuff, but never got to see them play. Um, Never seen Deep Purple, but that's a whole different genre.
Yeah.
Never even seen AC/DC live, but there's a few bands like that that I just didn't ever get to catch. As far as hardcore goes, though, I mean, shit, we've played with the Exploited and all kinds of bands like that, so it's been pretty good. No complaints, except for a Bad Religion, and maybe that's about the only one I haven't got to play with.
Yeah. Now, do you still listen to the hard rock and heavy metal stuff to this day?
Yeah, sometimes, for sure.
Yeah, like I said, I do too. I love Iron
Gotta
Maiden.
listen to some Deep Purple now and then or something, just fucking and watch the videos live and stuff like that. It's just fucking incredible.
Yeah, yeah. I was lucky enough to see Deep Purple once. I saw the Perfect Strangers tour. I mean, it was kind of later on, but I got to see Strangers, which is a great album in my and I think, if I can remember correctly, I think Loudness from Japan opened up for him.
Cool.
So, yeah, I was lucky enough to just see him once because I love that album, and I love Deep Purple too as well. So I also wanted to ask, when the crossover like happened and everybody was kind of, you know, hardcore and metal kind of combined itself, you were basically one of the first bands that kind of get into that. I mean, I know there was like Crumbsuckers and Agnostic Front kind of switched their style up, and you know, Nuclear Assault and SOD at the time.
Yeah,
And
all of a sudden a hardcore band might have a long-haired guy in the band, a guitar player or something.
yeah,
Little extras, some licks in there, some cool leads and stuff.
yeah. What with DRI to make you guys kind of do the crossover? Was it just like a natural progression of like your music that kind of made it?
Yeah. Like I said, we talked about it because we wanted to add something, some slower stuff in, and you know, SOD came out, and they had the all of a sudden moshing became popular. Like people were actually thrashing to slow, heavy stuff, which we hadn't seen before. So we're like, oh, we can have like this slow, heavy shit too, and people are still going to thrash to it and not just stand there and wait for the fast parts. So yeah, we started mixing it in, and you know, people, like, we didn't coin the term crossover, but people told us that that's what people were calling it.
Yeah.
So then I told Spike and everything, I'm like, we should just call the album Crossover and make a glitzy, nice, like chrome looking skanker and everything that's kind of metallic and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went ahead and did it.
I feel like Slayer had a little bit to do with that as well, because like Slayer, you know, they had long hair and stuff like that, but they were wearing like hardcore t-shirts. You know what I mean?
And playing at breakneck speed, a hardcore speed and everything, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely crossed over from the other side. We just kind of met in the middle, and we were on the same label and everything too. So worked out pretty good, and we got to do shows with them.
How shows were they with back then, especially? It must have been amazing playing with Slayer back then.
Oh yeah, it was killer.
Now, were they an influence on DRI kind of when the crossover like wave hit?
I mean, anything you ever listen to is an influence to you, especially if you like it, you know, which of course we like them and all that stuff. But we kind of already had our own thing. It definitely didn't affect my lyrics, but you know, you'd have to ask Spike about the music wise or whatever.
Yeah.
We all like Slayer.
Yeah. I was just asking just because it seemed like, you know, thrash metal or then the cross together. And I was just wondering if you guys were listening to more like thrash bands at, you know, once that wave kind of hit, you know, like the bands like Testament and like Death Angel and stuff like that. Were you listening to that, but still obviously you were listening to straight up hardcore bands as well, because you can hear it in the music.
Right.
Plus you guys were, you know, a hardcore band to begin with, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we were doing shows with, we did a tour with Testament, and we were doing shows with Death Angel and all that stuff, and hanging out with those guys between tours.
Yeah.
Which is another weird thing, is, you know, we lived in San Francisco for a long time, but we weren't ever considered like a San Francisco band or anything. We weren't like part of that scene for some reason, because we were always gone on tour. You know, it's like,
yeah.
we just showed up every now and then, probably hardly went out, and then just left again for another tour or something. So we weren't like one of those bands like Forbidden or anything that was there all the time, you know. And I mean, they all toured too, but probably not as aggressively as DRI.
Somebody just commented and said DRI probably influenced Slayer just as much, which I kind of agree too. I'm you guys being not the
right. Well, they would have we influenced them first before we knew who they were. And then later, once we heard them and people started telling us, hey, dude, there's this band like long hair guys, but they love DRI and they play real fast. And my younger brother, is the one that I had heard about them, but didn't know anything about the music. And then my brother went to the show and he's like, oh man, you got to check it out. He goes, they got long hair, but everybody's thrashing and stage diving and stuff. So for us, that was like, we were like, what? You know, because it was before crossover. So there was usually only, you know, metal shows where nobody thrashed and stage dived, or punk shows where everybody thrashed and stage dived. So we didn't go to the same gigs. So Slayer had already kind of started that as far as, you know, attracting some of the punks to go there and that liked the whole vibe and the speed of it and the heaviness of it and all that. And we're like, we could thrash to this, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, like all kinds of thrash bands wearing DRI shirts back then all the time. Like, so, like, you know, I agree with you. You must have had a huge influence on those thrash bands as well, you know, because there was so many bands that I saw that had DRI shirts. You know, a guitar player was, you know, wearing a DRI shirt, and you'd see it everywhere. Even
Even the new wave of thrash bands and stuff, you know, South American and all that. You
yeah,
always see one of the guys in the band in their photo shoots. A lot of times will have a DRI shirt.
that's
It's cool. Just that's helping, you know, just saying what you like and giving us a little boost. We appreciate it.
yeah. And once crossover hit, obviously you guys were playing bigger clubs and stuff like that. Was that some sort of a surprise that crossover kind of blew up like it did? Because when I heard it, I was blown away. You know, the first 5-year plan hits and I lose
Well,
you win blast off, and it just like it hooked me, and obviously it hooked a ton of people. And it
a
seemed
lot of the
like
punks didn't like it. Um, we caught some grief, you know, from back then. They couldn't comment on Facebook or anything, but they would write to us. That's all you could do. Snail mail. They'd send you a letter and say, you know, you've gone, you know, you've crossed over or whatever to metal. Fuck you guys. You suck. If you try to come back to punk, you know, we won't accept you back. And you've ruined it and everything like that. You've ruined rock and roll, or you've ruined punk rock forever because now it's not pure anymore. And they were scared that it would just get diluted with metal and stuff. So there were the purists and then the people that could accept, like, I like the pure and I like this too, and whatever, you know, I like country or something, you know, and they weren't all uptight and butthurt about it. But yeah, we heard from some people definitely at the shows too.
and how was your reaction? Like you and the band's reaction to that? Were you just like, hey, we're gonna do it. If you're on this ride with us, then you are. If not, you know, we're
Yeah, I mean, it was just weird. I guess it was they were like trolls back then or whatever, but they said, you know, like when Dealing with It came out, they said they loved the first album, but Dealing with It is overproduced and too slick and all this stuff, and they didn't like it, and we fucked it all up, and they don't like us anymore and stuff like that. It's like, whatever, man. We're trying to, once we get more money, we're going to try to make an even more slick album, you know, with better equipment and all that stuff. So we weren't phased by it too much.
now on the crossover album. Did you tours like on the crossover album, and did you have were you touring with somebody like another big band during that day? Because I remember I saw you guys in it was either Club Babyhead in Providence, Rhode Island, or it was either I don't know if it was the Paradise in Boston or the Channel or something like that. But I saw you guys for crossover, you know, in New England, and then I know I saw you at Club Babyhead in Providence, Four of a Kind. Who were you touring?
For crossover, I can't remember right now. I don't want to say the wrong band. It might have been different bands at different parts of the tour and all that.
Yeah.
Can't really remember.
Um, did you have a touring band with four of a kind too, or you that's kind of just the same type of thing? You guys were playing with all different kinds of bands.
Yeah, I mean, different tours. I mean, probably didn't do like one tour of America for Four of a Kind. It was probably in sections, but I think Four of a Kind might have been the one where we did with Sick of It All, Nasty Savage. That was a pretty big tour.
Yeah.
Maybe like 3 months or something, 2 or 3 month tour, something like that.
Now,
In the U.S.
do you remember any shows in Boston? Just because I'm like Boston based, I live in New Hampshire, but I
Yeah,
lived in for a while too,
we don't
and
really play there much anymore. I don't know. We had some lame shows there. We had the famous one at the Channel where Spike kicked the owner, or I think it was the owner or the manager or something, like kicked him off the stage. I don't know if that was the one where you were there, but I can't remember what year it was. But after that, I think we kind of got blacklisted for a while. But the cops were trying to shut it down or something, and the promoter came out. We refused to quit playing, and the promoter came out, or the owner or something, and was waving his hands around, and you have to stop. And Spike, he turned around towards the audience like he was telling guy was telling people to leave or something. And Spike just booted him right out the fucking stage. Could have hurt him really bad, but yeah, that was just the kind of shit we did a lot back then.
Yeah. Channel was always like that kind of. You would see the guy just pull the plug, and it was such a strange time back then.
Right. They just started taking all of our, we would refuse to quit playing, and they just started. Well, eventually they cut the power, but our drummer just kept playing, Felix, and then like the roadies came and just started taking his drums away until he just had like his snare and he was banging on it, and they finally took that away, and then we were done. But after that, we played like the Rat, I think, and stuff like that. And some of the shows were real lame. I don't know if the promotion was bad or whatever, but we just kind of quit playing Boston, and I think we played near there usually, or somewhere nearby or something.
Yeah. Actually, it might have been at the one at the Rat. Was it just because there were a lot of people and it was kind of just like is that kind of why it was lame? Just because like you said, promotion was bad and there wasn't a lot of kids there.
Right.
Yeah, it might have been that one, but I know the Providence was crazy. There was like tons of kids there. I remember that.
Providence was always killer. Yeah, we still do well there.
Yeah. Did you guys played Club Babyhead a bunch of times back then, didn't you?
Providence, I'm thinking about the living room.
Oh, the living room too. Yeah. Oh, well, Babyhead was like earlier on, and then it kind of closed, and then the living room was like big.
I can't remember every show or every club, but I remember some, especially living room. Very cool place.
Yeah. It was all
strip club now. Everybody says it's a strip club now. I don't know.
I think it closed actually. It was. You know what's funny is the living room always reminded me of kind of like a CBGB's baby, like so dirty. Yeah, the bathrooms were like disgusting. Sometime I went in there was like just a whole floor with like water like in it instead of toilet. Like they out, but there was like shit water in there.
Right.
Yeah, it was like the baby CBGBs kind of from around.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Punk clubs they looked like punk clubs inside, and they weren't mad. When people were slapping stickers all over the place and peeing on the wall and stuff. But the problem was when Crossover came out, and even Four of a Kind and stuff, is that we started getting into these bigger, nicer metal clubs but the punks were all coming in there. We're never allowed there before. They would never have a punk show there, but then they had the DRI show, and then it was bad. I mean, it was like the people were freaking out from the club, because people were sticking stickers around and trashing the place and everything, and not treating it, as nice as I guess the people before and the metalheads and stuff had. Yeah, I'm sure we probably, a lot of those places they came and went. Like we played one time and then we were never there again.
Now, were you surprised at the? I know people gave you flack for Crossover. Were you surprised at everybody? It was
sorry, like, you're cutting out. I can't tell what you're saying.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I was saying about Crossover. It was well received by the mass, I guess. Were you surprised at that? I know there was some flack from other people, but were you kind of surprised at how well it did?
I think we were too busy being happy to be surprised. I don't know. I don't remember being so surprised about it, but I mean, we still weren't doing that great financially or anything.
Yeah.
But we were happy because we had a deal with Metal Blade, and if Crossover sold well, then we'd get more money and to put out the next album, to spend in the studio and all that stuff. So we were really trying to do well there and kind of build it up to stay on Metal Blade Records and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, we got busy once Crossover came out. We were just busy all the time, touring, promoting records. It was good.
You started doing videos, like suit and tie guy videos. How did that kind of come about? Like, where did the record company say, "Hey, you need to take a video out"? And
yeah, that or the manager. I think our manager had worked out a deal with Metal Blade, where they had to give us a certain amount of money for at least one video per record, something like that, or front you the money or something like that, probably.
Yeah.
So the manager wanted to do the videos. We didn't really care that much about it.
Yeah. So when that out, you kind of just were.
Your manager tells you what to do and come down to LA. You're going to make 2 videos this weekend or whatever. And you're like, all right.
Yeah.
It's not that fun. That's like, I see why actors, it's like acting really, I guess, unless you're really into it or whatever, it's not nearly as fun as playing live.
Yeah, true.
It's a lot of waiting around. Same with playing live, with being in a band, a lot of waiting around. But then when you actually act, you don't have a big live audience usually. So it's just not as fun.
And there was 2 videos for Thrash Zone too, as well, right? There was 2. You guys did 2 for Thrash Zone?
Yeah, it was, let me think now. It's Abduction.
Yeah.
And what was the other one? Beneath the Wheel. Is that what you're thinking of?
Now, are you pumping out the bid to start playing live again now that shows are open up again? Especially,
yeah, wait. Kidding? Starting on the East Coast in September.
Oh, you are? Nice.
It's all booked.
Right.
Got my flight from Spike yesterday. Got to start working on the merchandise in a couple of days to get ready. Have some shirts and stuff made up.
Right. Well, what's the first venue?
I can't hear you. You're breaking up again.
What's the first venue you're playing at?
I don't know. I don't have it here in front of me.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Are you dying to play live since it's been?
Yes.
How long has it been since you've played a live show?
I think we did South America in March of 2020, and then the pandemic hit, and we barely made it out of Brazil in time before they shut down all the flights.
Yeah.
And we made it back, and that was it. Yeah. We had just started on our 2020 world tour. We got cut short, but we got to do Hawaii and South America, so that I'm not complaining about that.
Yeah, no.
Got a good start in there.
Yeah. Yeah, you were supposed to play Australia as well, right?
Yeah, all over Europe, everything.
Yeah, yeah. And then that got cut to Australia. Obviously, Australia was super like locked down. They're still locked down.
Right. Yeah, they went back into lockdown or something.
Now, is there any new DRI songs that are being worked on right now? Where you're going to release any new music?
No, we haven't been talking about that. I jammed with some during the pandemic. I jammed with some guy down the street, and I didn't know him before the pandemic, but we met on the Nextdoor app. You know what that is?
No.
It's just some app where you could join, and it's like a neighborhood thing.
Yeah.
So like there's somebody abandoned a dog at this street and that street, and and you post a picture and that kind of stuff. So we met on there, and then I went over to his house, and he had a little jam place there, play drums and record and guitar and bass and all that. So I had some lyrics, we went over there. He brought some guys over, and we wrote a couple of songs, and then the band broke up. He called me, and he's like, yeah, we're not continuing or whatever. And I don't know if I got fired or something. I'm really not sure. It's like, okay. I thought the song, at least the one song, we wrote one song together, and the other one, the guitar player already had the music. But I put the lyrics to it, and we just, that wasn't too hard. It was just fitting my lyrics to his song, which actually fit perfectly, amazingly. And then we wrote another song all together in just one, like in a couple hours. And I thought it was great, but yeah, it's all over.
Yeah.
So I'm still writing lyrics anyway.
Yeah. Now is Pasadena Napalm Division, is that over with or still active?
Seems like it. I mean, they keep talking about kind of wanting to revisit it, but it's just, everybody's real spread out. Like one's in Austin, one's in San Antonio, one's in Houston, one's in Pasadena, Texas, and one's south of Houston somewhere. So it'd be very expensive and all that, to get together and everything.
So what brought you living in Texas? How long were you living in California, and then what brought you back to living in Texas?
Just too expensive there. I was living there for probably like 15 years or something with the band. But even when we were doing well, I was just kind of barely surviving, living on credit cards and then pay them off, from the tour, and just a vicious cycle. It's beautiful there. I like it, but I couldn't afford it. Came back to Texas, and I financially do better, make my dollar last longer, whatever.
So someone in the comments said that you guys passed up a tour with Iron Maiden.
Yeah, we did.
What was the story behind that?
I think we passed up a tour with Iron Maiden, and we passed up a tour with I think it was Alice Cooper, and both of them. Both of them we already had a tour booked of our own. So then they contacted our manager, and then he asked us, and we're just like, I don't want to cancel our whole tour and everything. Like, we got our own thing going, so yeah. Might have been a bad decision, I don't know, but I think Alice Cooper was just, like for Florida or something like that, and we would have had to cancel our whole big thing. So yeah, we mostly do our own thing, we're usually just a headlining band and go, play our own shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, we might have fucked up there. Thanks for reminding me.
No, somebody has some comment. I didn't even know about it. I had no idea about it. What year was that?
I buried it. I compartmentalized and buried it somewhere, and you just fucking dug it out, dredged it out. Thanks.
Sorry. It wasn't me. Comments. I didn't do it. I'm just a messenger. That's all. So with all the catalog that DRI has, what do you think, like, your favorite album that you guys put out?
Probably Dealing With It. Yeah.
Yeah.
All around. But I like some songs on every one of the records.
Yeah. I think Dealing With It is probably my favorite. Crossover, it's close though. Crossover is close for me, definitely.
Just interesting when you go in the studio. I mean, you play and play and play the songs over and over and over again. You record them, you listen to them, cheaply record them, and then prepare to go in the studio. And then you go in the studio and you knock them out, and some songs come out better than you expected ever, and other ones come out like that you thought were going to be different, come out not as good as what you thought or whatever. But yeah, not much you can do about it. It's just how it is.
And when you guys construct your playlist now, especially this new tour, is it always changing? Do you guys always pick it up all the time and try to throw in early songs too?
Spike mostly builds the set list, and he tries to do it. I think a lot of them, like, say, 3 songs that are really good from Four of a Kind that are all next to each other on the record. We'll play those in a row, that kind of stuff. But he puts a lot of time and effort into figuring out which songs to play and everything. And I'd say most of those songs we keep in the set list, but yeah, we do bring stuff in and out of there just to mix it up.
How much the self-titled do you play at all?
Quite a bit, but some of those songs are also on Dealing With It, so
yeah,
tricky.
Now, as we get older, I mean, I'm close to 50 years old. I'll be 50 in January. Is it tougher to do those faster songs for you vocally, or is it still kind of, just like riding a bike, you get on it and it's...
Well, I'm not sure we always play them as fast as they are on the record. It's like some of the slow stuff we seem to play faster now live, but then some of the faster stuff we play slower. And the drummer, of course, I guess a lot of times is going to be, we have to go along with him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's easy for me. I guess I'm able to control my breathing and all that stuff and pretty well. But the hard stuff is when you have to play like outside in the sun.
Yeah.
In France at Hellfest or something, and the sun's beaming down on you, and then those songs become very difficult. And it might only be 20 seconds long. It's a crushing 20 seconds when it's like 130 degrees with the sun beaming down on you. It's like, fuck. Just give me a song that has like a lead in it or something where I could stop for a second and take a breath.
Yeah. Well, at least like now in nicer clubs have the LED lights, not the French fry lights that they used to have back in the day, where it was like just melting bands back, like earlier on.
Yeah.
Must be.
Definitely, it's way better than it used to be as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Like once a year, we might play a club that still has the old can lights, that are heat lamps basically.
Yeah.
But usually, yeah, they're all LED now, thankfully.
Yeah.
Big difference. The kids these days don't know what it was like, especially for the drummers because you're on the riser closer to the lights.
Yeah, and it's right here.
Like just right on their back, and you can see their back steaming and sweating steam coming off of it.
Yeah, yeah, I remember those days. Just being in the like side of the crowd or like in the front, it was always like hot as hell, like around there, just because of the lights and of course packed in kids jumping on each other.
Right.
And doing that. Going back a little ways, what do you think was the most violent era of like punk, like the hardcore, like thrash scene? I feel like the late '80s was probably where it got really bad. At least in Boston,
Yeah, 87, 88 time. 86, 87, 88, I guess. Yes. Brutal.
is that what you think that's because like the two, the long-haired kids and the
Yeah, that's why I said before. It was just they weren't able to interact with each other at first.
yeah,
And the long haired guys probably started coming to like, fuck it, I'm going to go see him anyway. I'm not scared,
yeah,
And then literally, I remember with Four of a Kind, especially in the South, it's like, Virginia and Georgia and all that. It seemed like we would just have to constantly stop the show because of fighting right there in front of us. And we would stop playing in the middle of the song, and then we'd be like, you guys got to quit fighting, this sucks and all that. And then we would start playing again. They'd immediately start fighting again. And then eventually we just have to say, look, if you keep fighting, we're just going to stop completely and leave or whatever. And then eventually they weren't shaking hands or hugging it out or anything, but sometimes they would actually quit, and they'd realize, okay, if we want DRI to keep playing, we're going to have to just stop and we'll kick each other's asses outside later or something like that, I imagine.
yeah, yeah. I feel like there was like jocks that came into the scene too back then that kind of didn't know what the hell they were doing, and they were.
You had that too, yeah. And like I told you, those nice metal clubs, and after a while, the ones that did survive usually put up cameras filming in the audience and stuff because they didn't want to. They're worried about getting sued, and somebody dives off and breaks Jenny's neck, and her dad's a lawyer, and she just came to watch the band, and now some big fucking guy landed on her neck, and the promoter wanted to be able to, I guess, and of course you got to put up the little signs, make sure like it says no stage diving and all that, so it's not that kind of covers your ass, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, back in the day, it would always be stage dive at your own risk signs,
The lawyers probably changed that and just said, no, you just need to put up there no stage diving, and that way, if somebody does, you just say, well, we told them not to, and they did it anyway. And,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I wanted to speak about your books that you wrote. Are you still writing books now? And I know, like a couple of years ago, you had 4 books that you've written. Is there more than 4 now?
No.
Just 4?
I haven't even reprinted them lately or anything. So the ones that I sell are ones that I usually now just buy them off of Amazon and eBay when somebody's selling one for under $100.
Yeah.
I'll snap them up for like $60 and try to sell them for 80 or 100, whatever,
Yeah. And are you still writing now, or
books now?
No, not
really kind of got out of the book writing thing, and part of the problem is that you have to print like 1,000 of them, to get a good price on it, and then you got your whole house is just, especially if you have 4 books, and pretty soon your whole house is nothing but boxes of books.
Yeah.
That's your end tables. That's your coffee table. You're eating on it.
Yeah.
Fucking, they're under the bed and everywhere. It's like, I just finally, when I got rid of them all the last time, I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah. Now, but you did the audio thing where you were on CD doing your books. Are you still selling that on like Tour, or is there a website?
I list it every now and then on Facebook, and I just make them as somebody wants one. I'll burn one for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Now,
not all my books. I think 2 of them. Yeah. Horror Stories and Notes from the Nest are on the books on CD.
What writing? We're doing all the lyrics and stuff like that. It was just a natural progression of writing books. Is that what kind of got you into it?
Into writing books?
Yeah. What got you into writing books? Like what?
Well, starvation. Being on tour for years and years and never having any money, and We got like $1 a day to live on, and just always being hungry. And I saw other people like Henry Rollins, writing books and selling them at the shows and all that. And then so I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. It's my first book, World War One, which hardly anybody has because I only made 100 of them. But it was stapled together, more like almost like a zine or something. But it had colors on the cover and also on the inside. It had my drawings, poems, some photographs that I took, stuff like that. And then I would, I made them for free, and then I sold them at shows for $1 or something like that. And then I was never starving anymore after that. And I'm like, oh, that was a good tour, Then I was able to eat and everything. I'd have a couple dollars every day, and then I immediately got to work on Notes from the Nest. And came out with that, and those cost me like $1.50 each to make 1,000 of them, and then I sold them for $3 each, so doubled my money on that. And I reprinted 3 times total, 3 prints, I think. And then 30-day diarrhea diet plan. I did a couple printings of that. And then horror stories, and I did 1 printing of that of 1,000.
Now, what was horror stories about?
It's a fictional book about procuring prostitutes around the world.
Interesting.
Yeah, WHORE, not HORROR.
Yeah.
You're into horror movies?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm into what they call body horror. You know that subgenre?
Yeah, it's kind of like
Human Centipede,
yeah,
Frankenstein, The Fly,
yeah,
Tusk. I don't know if you ever saw that stuff.
Tusk, yeah,
Stuff I like.
Yeah, stuff definitely. Yeah, I watch everything. Huge movie guy. I try to watch horror movies in all the genres. Obviously, some of it gets watered down nowadays because you've seen everything. But yeah, body horror is definitely.
Yeah, how many movies can you watch about? 4 old friends go out to a cabin for a weekend and then are attacked by, insane rednecks or whatever. It's like, there's so many of them that just come out constantly every year. But then you get Human Centipede and it's like, oh, okay, this is different.
Yeah. Although I think I found their worst one.
You what?
Part 3, I think, was the worst one, though. I like 1 and 2, I enjoyed, but part 3 was I didn't like part 3.
Yeah, not as good, but still, it was still passable.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Definitely. And I want to ask you a couple more questions, and then I'll get out of here. I'm a farmer, growing food and stuff like that. What got you into that?
Well, I kind of when I moved from California, I moved out to the country in Texas first. So I was just living out in the middle of nowhere, like in a dead end road out in the woods.
Yeah.
I had a lot of land though, so I was, I wanted to start my own garden and everything. Just started researching it and everything like that, and started growing my own stuff. And then I had to sell that place after 10 years, and then I bought a new place 4 years ago that has a bigger garden area or whatever. So yeah, and I've been heavily gardening that spot ever since the last 4 years.
And what is your favorite thing to grow?
It's tough. They're all fun. Potatoes are fun because you don't get to see it until the end, when you dig it up. So you're never really sure. You can kind of feel around in there with your hand, and that's kind of exciting. Like, and then, I don't know. I've been growing a lot of peppers. I grow okra, eggplant, lots of herbs. Every year I do something new, some different stuff just to try out, plus the old regular staples that always do well. A lot of green beans this last year. This is the first year, the pandemic was the first time I've been able to constantly garden for a year instead of just 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even my cats are I have 7 cats, and they're used to me being here for a couple weeks, and then they have to just kind of mostly fend for themselves for a while.
Yeah.
And this is now they're spoiled because I've been giving them 3 meals a day for like over a year. So I don't know how they're going to survive now. They probably quit eating bugs and stuff like they used to. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Now, I guess like gardening. What's the key to like having a good garden? Because
Compost, compost, compost. I'm a huge composter.
yeah, because it comes well for me. You know, herbs come out well for me, but other stuff doesn't usually come out too well for me.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of composting the last few days. During the summer here, the grass grows and it's raining every day. Grass grows like crazy and you have to mow it, capture it, compost it. And then during the winter, you're not mowing anymore because there's no grass growing. And so it just sits there basically until it's, ready to use in the springtime or whatever. So, or the summer. So yeah, been busy all summer so far composting.
Now, do you have problems with animals coming and trying to eat some of that stuff, or you have it well?
Now I have something, what I call a meat barrel, which I posted on Facebook recently. It's an old rain barrel where they capture rainwater
Yeah.
use in the garden. And I use it, I fill it up with any meat byproducts or stuff that I'm not eating or the cats won't eat, like dead rats, dead mice.
Yeah.
I also raise rabbits. So I had a rabbit that died, natural causes, I think, but it was just a real old one or whatever. And I just threw it in the meat barrel. So dead squirrels and, whatever, things like that, bits, rabbit bits, squirrel bits and stuff. I throw it all in the meat barrel. And so no animals go in there. I keep a cover on it most of the time, but I just haven't had any problems. But yes, if you put any things like I compost paper plates, paper towels, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If it has meat on it or anything like that, and you try to just put it in your compost, animals will dig it out of there. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why I started the meat barrel.
Oh, no kidding. I've never heard of that. That's interesting.
I thought everybody had a meat barrel until I posted it on Facebook, and it's like everybody's like, "What the fuck?" And they're freaking out on it and everything. I'm like, "What?" I just showed it had rained and there was a lot of activity in the meat barrel. It was vermin, different types of grubs and
Yeah.
fly larvae and stuff in there, but it looked pretty cool. I thought.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of that, but like I'm glad that you said that because I'll have to look it up now.
Yeah, I mean, I try to recycle as much as I can,
Yeah.
and once we get rid of single-use plastics, I guess, then I'll pretty much be recycling almost everything. So should be good.
Yeah. Now, before usually I do a rapid fire at the very end. I had one more question. Fire though.
You're breaking up. Hold on.
Oh, sorry. Your lyrics are, you've talked about everything from politics to religion to pollution to gun control to blue collar working to stuff like that. Do you ever like get a writer's block for things to write about?
I'd say there's times where I'm not concentrating on writing. And then one day I'll just be sitting there hanging out, and I'll just all of a sudden just start gushing out, and I'll write several good songs and parts of songs that I save for later and ideas and all that kind of stuff. But as far as writer's block of like, oh, I need to write something, I got till tomorrow or something like that, doesn't usually happen. That's what usually would light a fire under your ass and make you write it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not just sitting around all day writing. But it comes and goes, I guess.
Yeah.
Then things can inspire you just reading a certain book or watching a certain movie or reading something in the news or whatever. It can all of a sudden just spark something in you, and be like, fuck, I should write a song about that or whatever, or that makes me feel a certain way that, or I agree with that person and I could, or they said it perfectly or whatever it is, it can spark you to want to write something. A lot of my songs are written after reading a certain book or reading a news article, something like that.
Nice. Yeah. I just wondering, just because you've talked about so many topics in your lyrics and stuff like that.
Give my taxes back. You know that song?
No.
Okay. I think it's from Dealing with It.
Oh,
it just spells it out. It give my taxes back. And it says spending my money on a race to space, wasting my money, slapping my face.
Yeah.
And it's same now. It's like, just people are spending billions of dollars to go to Mars or the moon or whatever, and the only thing that they can talk about what they're looking for is signs of previous life. You know what I mean? That's all they talk about. Signs of previous life, spending billions of dollars and everything. So it's like, I don't know. I pay my taxes, but I just imagine a world where you could kind of like they send you pay your taxes, but you could pick and choose what you want it, what percentage you want to go for what.
Yeah.
So you could skip the space race or whatever and be like, I want it to go for social things, homeless people, soup kitchens, or I want it to go for improvement of roads, or you could say I want it all to go to the military. You get to choose though, you know what I mean? Instead of it, we kind of do by our elected officials, but at the same time, it would be more particular if each person can kind of choose and be like, well, we don't have any money for military this year. Nobody wants to spend any on that, and he's like, well, you just have to hunker down then for a little while until next year.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's a good idea. All right, I'm going to start with the rapid fire questions for you. Before I answer, so my first question is favorite all-time hardcore band from New England, like Boston area.
Gangrene.
My second question: what was the first punk hardcore show you attended?
TSOL.
All-time hardcore show you played, which could be a couple because you've played a billion shows. Any memorable, like, favorite ones that you have?
Opening for Black Flag at the lawn. No, it was in Houston. I can't remember the name of the place, but that's the main one.
Yeah. My next one: all-time favorite punk hardcore show you attended that you didn't play, that you went to and watched.
Dead Kennedys in Houston when we first started.
I'm a huge movie guy. We were talking about movies a little bit. What was the last movie you watched?
What was it? Benghazi, but I can't remember it's not called that. It's like 13 hours or something. Benghazi.
Yeah, 13 hours. Yeah, I think that's the name of it.
But
yeah.
Benghazi's the last word on there, but I don't know.
Yeah. Favorite all-time horror movie for you? Could be a couple because it's hard to pin down one.
I don't know. Lately, Tusk. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
yeah, Tusk is real good.
Some reason I just like stuff like that, and it just makes me feel giddy or something. I don't know. Just a lot of people are just like, dude, that's disgusting and everything. I was like, no, I mean, it's like, who hadn't thought of sewing somebody into a walrus? It's like, fucking, it's cool, man.
Yeah, the ending was crazy, definitely. I also asked, I also love hip hop, especially older stuff. I don't know if you're into it. Some people don't listen to it at all. If you've been listening to hip hop at all, what have you been listening to?
Well, I just listened to I think 4 or 5 part series podcast on Beastie Boys, which is the podcast is called No Dogs in Space. So that was real interesting because they were also talking about, it was just, early hip hop and everything, and then the Beastie Boys and all of that. So yeah, that's killer. I mean, I love NWA, and Eazy-E, all that stuff. Ice-T,
Yeah.
Ice Cube. We did a whole tour with Ice-T's Body Count, so that was cool. Not rapping, but still, it was killer. That was one of those few times where we actually did a tour opening for somebody else. We have done a few.
Yeah. Now, being from Houston, are you a big Ghetto Boys fan?
No, but I mean, I know of the band and everything. Just not listening to it all the time.
Yeah. And my final question is, this is just, it could be a couple, but favorite song to play live for you when you play. Obviously, give me a couple of the ones you really love to play live.
I like, dang. Can't think of it. Argument and War is pretty cool. I'm trying to think of the songs we've been playing lately. Nursing Home Blues, we don't play all the time, but when we do, I like playing that one.
Yeah.
5-year plan, of course.
Yeah.
I have this weird thing though. Every now and it's like every few years or something, I'll blank out on. I'll just start messing up on 5-year plan.
Oh, really?
Like I sing the wrong verse in there somewhere, and then it throws me off for the whole time because I don't know it. So, but it's happened, a few times. It's not like every time or anything, but every now and then it's just kind of go off on the rails there.
Yeah.
So it makes me panic. Is it going to be that time?
Yeah.
Usually not.
I love Red Line on Crossover. That's like one of my favorite songs of.
Yeah, but see, we don't play it live anymore, so.
Yeah. Red Line, Out Slouch. All the my
All for
favorite.
Nothing is one that we play sometimes, and I really like that one. That's a fun one.
Do you guys play Manifest Destiny? Because that was
Yeah, we do that.
I love that song. That was always big for me. Obviously, like I like the like older ones too. Like, well, newer actually is like Dry Heaves. I love that song too. And,
Yeah, we play that sometimes. Manna and Kind is one we never play, but I told Spike I wanted to, but I don't know. I think he didn't want to or whatever. But it's I like the song and I like singing it, but yeah, I don't know if we'll ever do it anymore.
yeah.
But since you were asking, that's a fun one to sing.
Yeah. Do you guys still do Syringes in the Sandbox?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's on and off the as we switch, the set list or whatever. Sometimes we do it.
Yeah.
Because we quit doing it for a long time because it's tuned down, and we used to bring separate guitars and bass that were tuned down so they could just switch for that. And then now we can't afford to do that anymore because it's so expensive to bring stuff on the plane like that, extra guitars and all that.
Yeah.
And we finally decided, fuck it, we'll just do it without tuning down. So
Nice.
now we just play it. Nobody seems to notice.
And finally, is there anything that you would just like to promote for people to hear that you like coming out, or obviously the tour's coming and stuff like that? Finally, do you want to promote anything that you like, the website or whatever for merch or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, the DRI website, dirtyrottenimbeциles.com, you go there in case anybody's wondering. It's like, oh, are they coming to our town, or when are they coming to Germany, or whatever, Look on there. Spike keeps track of everything really well on his website that he does. You could also, it's just DRI1.com as well, faster way to type it in. And we're starting to tour regularly starting in September. It should be back to normal. Hopefully, fingers crossed, and it won't be a new lockdown or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
now, do you have any opening up for you guys on that tour, or is it kind of just sporadic bands opening?
No, we have bands opening on that tour. I can't remember which one it is right now. We mostly stick with these certain bands that we've been with for a while, and they're reliable and everything,
Yeah.
I can't remember which one of those. It might be Death Wish. I'm not really sure. Just have to check in on it. Also, Tom Hunting, drummer of Exodus. They had last night a live show where they making money for him, like a benefit for his cancer treatment. And I gave stuff of DRI, and so did our drummer, and I don't know who else, but a whole bunch of Death Angel, all the Bay Area bands gave them a bunch of stuff, and they auctioned it and everything. And
oh, nice.
I think they even sold stuff, or I'm not sure at the gig how they were doing that, but they had, I think it was yesterday or the day before, they had, I think it was last night.
Oh, no.
I think they did 2 shows in a small venue. Must have been very interesting, but yeah, I couldn't believe just like the little thing that I gave them for DRI was up. The auction was up to $900.
Wow.
And all it is a pair of our drumsticks, one of our DRI watches, and a triple extra large T-shirt, tour shirt from 2019.
Oh, no kidding.
So yeah, the fans are really fucking helping out there with him.
Definitely.
They got like autographed guitars and all kinds of great stuff there to help him out.
Oh, that's awesome. That's definitely awesome.
So I definitely want to promote that.
Yeah, that's great cause to promote.
Right.
I,
You're breaking up.
Oh, I was just saying, thank you for doing this with me. I appreciate it so much. You're one of my, you're a legend to me in the hardcore punk.
All right. Well, appreciate it. Thanks for having me and asking me.
And like I said, anything you ever need, just get in touch with me or whatever. like I said, thank you so much, and thank you for the music that you put out for all these years.
Anything?
Yeah.
No,
But
I'm joking, but I'm trying to buy the property next to where I live. And you talk about my garden, you know,
yeah,
and my whole property is like a quarter of an acre, but the garden is just a part of that, of course. But the next property over to me is a quarter acre, also same size, but nothing but just grass, just a flat piece of grass or whatever. So yeah, somebody was going to buy it, and then they were going to build some big like metal shop there or something.
yeah,
And then so I was kind of bummed out about it because I kind of wanted to buy it, but I never had the money. And then all of a sudden, I'm kind of made friends with the guy that bought it, and I told him, you know, I'm like, yeah, I want to buy it. I mean, in case you ever decide to sell it. And then he hit me up, but right in the middle of the pandemic, he's like, yeah, I'm decided not to build the shop, and he goes, I don't want to put it on the. He goes, I'm coming to you first, you know, I don't want to put it on the for sale or whatever because I know you want it. And I'm like, I do. I go, and I don't have a job right now. I got zero income. And I'm like, I could, you know, I go, if we just wait till September or whatever, then I'll be working again and I'll be able to do it and get a loan or whatever. You know, the bank won't give me a loan because they're like, what's your income right now? It's like zero, no job. So anyway, the guy said, okay, it's cool. Just pay like $400 a month for the first year, $600 a month for the second year, like rent to own.
yeah, yeah.
And then as soon as you're touring again and you can get a loan, then just buy it off. So I'm like, fuck yeah, it's like the best thing ever. So I could expand my garden out like a whole nother fucking quarter acre. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh, no kidding.
I'm pretty stoked about that.
Yeah, definitely. Wow.
Can't let it get away from me. For one reason is because if whoever else buys it might just be the worst neighbors ever, and you know, build something that blocks the sun in my garden, and you know, anything could happen.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to buy it just to keep somebody else from getting it.
That's true. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, like I said, I'll see what I can do. Maybe I could throw you some cash.
No. I've already signed the deal with the guy. It's a rent to own deal, so he's not going to sell it for 2 years. I got 2 years to secure my money.
Yeah, yeah.
My loan. But thank you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even do a GoFundMe for something like that. Like people do GoFundMe because they're dying or their child's dying or something. I'm not going to be like, hey, I already got a house and I want to have a bigger yard or something. It's like, y'all going to just give me the money for that? Like, I would never do that.
Yeah.
That's gross.
Yeah. I hear you. Well, thanks again. And I really appreciate it. Like I said, your music's meant a shit ton to me. Like I said, I was wearing DRI shirts when I was 15 years old, and I'm almost 50 now. And like I said, the music has just meant so much to me, and I appreciate you doing this.
Well, I hope you kept your old shirts. They're worth a little bit of money nowadays. I had some guys from Japan came to my house recently and bought a couple $1,000s worth of stuff from me.
Wow, that's awesome.
That helped me through the pandemic or whatever. Yeah. They like those 80s shirts, the ones from the 80s. And
yeah. No, I
don't. Old flyers that I had and stuff. I've been squirreling away that stuff all this time.
Yeah.
Posters. I'm a big collector of all that crap. So.
Yeah, smart. It's definitely a smart thing to do. Unfortunately, I got a lot fatter, so I was wearing youth larges and smalls back then, and now I'm in an extra large. So those things kind of went away.
Right.
But like I said, thank you so much. I'll let you go.
Right.
And talk to you soon, man. And
good talking to you. Take care.
All right, man. Thank you.
Later.